Okay, here we go. Stand by. 3, 2, 1.
The thinking atheist. It's not a person. It's a symbol. An idea.
The population of atheists in this country is going through the roof.
Rejecting faith. Pursuing knowledge. Challenging the sacred.
If I tell the truth, it's because I tell the truth. Not because I put my hand on a book and made a wish.
And working together for a more rational world.
Take the risk of thinking for yourself. Much more happiness, truth, beauty, and wisdom will come to you that way.
Assume nothing. Question everything. And start thinking. This is the Thinking Atheist Podcast. Hosted by Seth Andrews.
If you are not supporting this broadcast as a patron, it makes a huge difference. It really does. It's a big deal. I appreciate the fact that I'm able to monetize online, but I'll tell you, after the recent skirmish with YouTube and seeing the oligarchs monopolizing social media, these are scary days, right? A lot of the stuff that I've been writing about recently has to do with this idea that the billionaires deserve their billions. They've earned it. They built the better mousetrap. They, at the very least, knew how to work the system. Even if they weren't business geniuses, maybe they were. Elon Musk, right? The boy genius who has never really made anything. He's never built or really designed anything except the Cybertruck, and we know how that went down. The other Tesla products, which, by the way, are well-reviewed and well-enjoyed products by the marketplace, those were designed by other people at Tesla. It's just that Elon attaches his name to it. The one thing that he was behind, the Cybertruck, is the Edsel of the 21st century automobile industry. It is the punchline of the industry and a huge failure. But we look at people like that. A lot of folks say, you know what, if he's smart enough to game the system, he can go in and build on his privilege and maneuver his way through PayPal, etc., and fill his pockets, well, good on him. And this worship of billionaires to me is just so bizarre, especially by the crowd as banging the Bible that says the love of money is the root of all evil. And then when do the rich, and I don't have a problem with people getting rich, get rich, knock yourself out. You want to be a millionaire? Great. But once you become the wealth hoarder, at what point does it become obscene? Is it abuse? At what point do you owe the societies upon which you built your obscene wealth? And on a planet with so much suffering, how in the world can you justify a $500 million yacht with a helipad and a pool and bars and restaurants and crazy shit like that? What are you talking about? People are suffering. People are starving to death. People need houses and shelters. Their kids need education. What are you doing? What are you doing? I was writing about this. It's a clock that Jeff Bezos of Amazon is funding. He's put $40+ million into what's called the Millennium Clock, and I believe it's being built on one of his many properties. This clock cuckoos once every 1,000 years. That's what it does. That's all it does. It is supposed to cuckoo once a millennium. $40+ million for this sucker. How detached from reality does someone have to be? How many meals would that buy? How much disease research would that fund? How many people would it help? This is the conversation I've been having lately about this weird worship of money, especially in the United States, and especially by people who make not even $35,000 a year. What's that thing that's been flying around that says the average American is usually no more than 6 months away from being financially devastated? They're not ever 6 months away from becoming a billionaire. And yet they worship the rich. If you haven't caught my most recent episode co-hosting with Erica, Got Sick Given on the Line, that was a treat. First time we've ever had a chance to host together, and I shit you not, I think it was our second caller, Renee. Oh, she's a gem. Super sweet. super sweet person who called in with this really wild and wacky story about how she is a Christian, but she's really not, and worships the one and only creator of the universe. And then she told us that she has 2 PhDs. She just threw it out there. Now, Erica is at the end of a PhD program, right? So you knew she wasn't going to let this go, and neither was I. So I asked the obvious question. I said, well, may I ask, where did you get your doctorates? And in what fields? And she paused, and then she said, I was given my doctorates by the one and only creator of the universe. God gave her the PhDs, is what she said, right? So it was kind of an argument from authority, right? I've got degrees, so listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. By the way, I got the degree from the creator somewhere. My next question, I think, was, did you get a full ride scholarship? Was there a Pell Grant of some kind involved? How is this funded? What's the diploma even look like if you get it from God? It's not God. I didn't say God. It's the one and only creator of the universe. It was such a wacky conversation. And the calls on these call-in shows for me, and I know a lot of people like the wackier, even the seminar repeat callers who dial in, and they can be amusing. My favorite parts for me, and this is subjective, just bantering with my co-host about whatever comes up. And with Erica, all you have to do is start talking about primate behaviors. And we talked about everything from the gibbon to the bonobo to Donald Trump, who exhibits this weird primate behavior. All right, a destructive primate behavior by someone who bullies everybody else in the monkey troop. What's a herd of monkeys called? Is it a troop? What is a herd of monkeys? I'm going to say herd just because it would drive Erica crazy. But we were talking about how the culture is really starting to swell backward. They're resisting all of the abuse and the grift and the bullying and all the shit that's coming down from this high primate. What happens out in the wild? Well, in many cases, the rest of the herd of monkeys, the troop, they decide, screw this, we've had enough, and then they overthrow the big alpha primate and do horrible things to him. Horrible. I mean, they've just had enough. Oh, yeah? You're going to hoard bananas. You're going to beat us up. You're going to ruin our lives. We've had enough. And then they go and they essentially bite his balls. They bite his testicles. And they rip him limb from limb. And there's screeching and chaos and all this kind of stuff. And then peace and order is restored. She's like, I'm just saying, throughout our history, how many times have we seen the autocrats and the tyrants, the oligarchs, the kings, right? The oppressors, whether it's Nero or Stalin, Mao, Hitler, etc. They come to power. There's a shit ton of abuse. And then finally, certain parts of the tribe or the species say, we've had enough. And they go and they rip their balls off with their teeth. It just happens. And it does make me wonder how shit is going to go down in the United States, because people are starting, I think people are almost there. They are almost at, I will go after your testicles with my teeth. They're almost at that spot. What's it look like? And that gets scary. There's already blood in the streets. But what happens if people decide, you know what, we're going to go physically after ICE, and then Donald Trump says, fine, I'm going to activate the whole of the U.S. military through the Insurrection Act, and then the states say, oh yeah, it's war, so now we've got a second civil war. Donald Trump then says, it's wartime, I'm going to cancel the midterm elections. What does that entail? Because it's going to be a theoretical bloodbath in November at the midterms. It's crazy. How did we get here? And why? I just read an article. Who published the article? You know what? Let me look it up. I'll tell you where it's sourced. Hold, please. This is out of The Independent. Morale is plummeting among ICE agents over long hours, quotas, and public hatreds. What? Morale is plummeting among federal law enforcement officers tasked with carrying out the Trump administration's aggressive anti-immigration operation. They complain long hours, ambitious arrest quotas, and hatred from the public are a problem. Many of them have grown disillusioned with the tactics being implemented by leadership. Cry me a freaking river. There is not a violin in this world small enough for these folks. I mean, you don't get to have buyer's remorse when you join the American Gestapo, the masked secret police, Murder Incorporated. You're like, oh, we sure are having to work hard and the quotas are too high. I'm not sure I agree with the tactics here. Shooting people in the face, it's not exactly what I signed up for. I'm not sure I should have taken the bonus. Many of these people promise salaries more than the average American school teacher for what? To go and terrorize American citizens. I just bought a t-shirt from fellow activist Christy Burke. I had her on the show last year, and she's just a joy. And she is selling a shirt on her website, and I couldn't help it. I had to go buy it. Let me see if I can find it here. Yep. ICE is a terrorist organization funded by your tax dollars. Now, she's running for office now because she really does want to go out and make a substantive change by becoming an elected official. And so she is running, and she sells the T-shirts and the hoodies and stuff to help fund that. And she said, they killed an American woman. They gassed an innocent family. They kidnapped a preschooler. They are terrorists, and I'm sick of my tax dollars funding their cruelty and violence. So she's out there on the front lines. ICE is a terrorist organization funded by your tax dollars. Soon as I get it, I'm going to photograph myself. I'll put it with a link on my social media pages because go Christie. I'm a fan. Before I get to the phones, there is one other article that just came out, and props to the New York Times for doing actual journalism on this regarding the murder of Alex Pretty in Minneapolis. Everybody's divided on this one. They had a vigil for Alex Pretty and Renee Good in my hometown of Tulsa, and there are vigils happening and protests happening really all around the country and all around the world. So there was a vigil that happened out in the cold weather. Temps near 15 degrees. People showed up anyway. And then you go online and you begin to read in the comments sections, and it's horrifying. Some people are like, this was murder. Our hearts go out to the families. ICE must be stopped. But a shit ton more people here in corn-fed Jesus-town, red state, Tulsa, Oklahoma, were like, fuck those people. They were domestic terrorists. How dare he carry a gun to a protest or to an ICE arrest? And now you've got Donald Trump saying, you can't carry a gun in public. That's going to go over with his base. Even the National Rifle Association, who I despise, and I own a couple of firearms. I have a couple of pistols. I do. I target shoot every once in a while. I am licensed and registered and trained. I keep them safely in a gun safe. They are not part of my identity. And here's a controversy. If there was a national ban or recall, I'd give them up because my guns are not part of my identity. I don't even really think about them. I don't sit around and have those fantasies. Well, somebody breaks into my house. Well, they ain't leaving because I'm going to unload a magazine into them. There's a lot of people that get off on that kind of bravado. And I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, if somebody broke in and endangered my family and it came down to lethal force to stop it, it would be a devastating, life-altering, traumatizing event. I think any moral person would feel that way. A life was taken. You had to exact violence against somebody else. I certainly wouldn't be masturbating to the idea of doing it in front of all my friends. But there's a culture that does that. And they're like, well, he wore a gun to an ICE arrest, didn't touch the gun, certainly didn't draw the gun. Well, the New York Times published a frame-by-frame analysis of the video that was taken. And this is why Donald Trump wants to outlaw video of ICE activities, because All right. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. George Orwell. New video analysis reveals flawed and fatal decisions in shooting of Peretti. Now, this is a weak headline. The headline should say, new video analysis reveals that Alex Peretti was murdered by ICE. But frame by frame, they showed he never touched his gun, never went for his gun. The gun was removed from his person by another agent before the armed agent drew his own gun and shot him in the back. 2 agents unloaded 10 bullets into Alex's body like that. And the gun was way far away. He was face down. He was under everybody's knees and arms and fists, pepper sprayed in the face. For what? For defending another protester. And the New York Times fairly analyzed the video and said he was not a threat. I believe that is a direct quote. You can watch frame by frame the video. And, that rising tide of outrage continues. Massive protest. I just read that the next No Kings protest is going to happen in late March. And I believe the website is nokings.org or nokings.com. I'll be monitoring that. And as I am not traveling, I will definitely be out there on the streets. I got to figure out a new sign. Okay, you've heard me babble. Let's talk to our callers. Stand by. We will do that next. Kind of nice to get together and lean on each other, cry on each other's shoulders, vent just a little bit. What would you like to vent about? Let's go to the phones and talk to you. Rich is dialing in from 585. Rich, are you with me?
Hey, how you doing, Seth?
Yeah, what's up?
There's so many things you said that just... my original thing, as a black man, I've been... even people who voted for Trump now, I've had some sort of say to me, well, you should get out there and protest. And honestly, many, and I can't speak for the whole community, but many of us in the community have said, we've been telling you this for years. This is what's going to happen. For the most part, and you can, a lot of, even political scientists say this, black people are some of the most practical and the most studied voters out there. They know what's going to happen. They've had it happen to themselves over and over for decades. And many of us don't want to go out there anymore. Honestly, our attitude is, you know what? It's your turn. It's horrible what's happening, but my Hispanic friends who said, yo, look what they're doing to us. But yet some of these people are saying this to me are the ones who voted for Trump. I've also had some of my white friends who don't understand why they're not seeing as many black people out there in the street. We've done this for decades. Our blood is on those streets. And many of us, and I don't expect an answer. I don't know. This is not a perfect strategy for us. I love what Christy is doing. You and I have met. I find you an amazing, and I've told you this, genuine man. But as black people, we don't want to put our blood there. And I hope people understand it. I don't hope they understand it. If they don't understand it, that's on them. This is what's happened to this young man was horrible. The young lady, the children, all of this. This has been going on in the black community for decades.
From your experience, you think it is the majority of African Americans that say we're done? Because, I've seen across the color and culture palette out there, I've seen people standing together.
No, I'm not saying, listen, that's why I said many.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, no, I stand in the sense of I see it, but if my son wants to go out there, my daughter wants to go out there, I'm going to say don't do it. Because when we go out there, we will be the first targeted. Unfortunately, what happened to these last 2 people, because there was no one out there. For my Hispanic friends who say I should go out there, and I tell them, but your vote was the one that pushed them over. So the cynicism is growing. But to your point, there's a lot. Everything I agree with everything you said, Seth. But I'm just speaking to that point. There are many of us who do. We will sit. I'll vote. I'll say, yeah, you're right. I won't go out there on the lines anymore. I won't put myself there.
I do find my sympathy well is dried up. I feel I've changed. How can you not change? I'm still in many ways a softie, but cynical's a good word. You can't beat somebody over and over and expect scar tissue not to form, right? And I am at the point now where MAGAs get no quarter from me. The excuse, we didn't know, or gosh, we didn't vote for this, or, we thought, well, no matter who he is, at least he is not a Democrat, or at least he's pro-life, #pro-life. There's no excuse. Ignorance is not an excuse. At this point, there's no quarter. I just have no sympathy. And Natalie and I have had that conversation. If somebody who works in farming voted for Trump because they bought the bullshit, and now they're bleeding to death because they're not getting subsidies or because, farming's being shipped overseas, et cetera. And they're like, oh my God, I'm going bankrupt. I kind of have this fuck around and find out attitude about it. And then I feel bad about it. And then I think, why do you feel bad? They brought it on themselves. Do you go through that, Rich? Do you have that conversation with yourself?
Oh, yeah, that's part of it. That's the part of it. Even for me, it's mostly Hispanic people because that's the Hispanic men. I do interface a lot with them. And I remember when the election was coming up and I was saying, but do you think that when the stormtroopers hit the streets, you won't be grabbed? No, he won't do that. And the thing is, Seth, you're kind. You're saying they did it out of ignorance. They don't do that.
Well, I mean, some did. I think some are just straight up bigots. I think this whole thing's been a black light exposing the rot. It's just exposed the people who,
been disgusting.
The parents who taught their children all this stuff, right? They said, don't tell a lie, don't bully, don't love money, don't lust, be a person of honor, keep your word, go out and emulate the best. And then they turn around and vote for the rapist. I thought, well, you just betrayed that you were an absolute hypocrite from day one. So some were ignorant. I think some were just full of shit, or they're just awful.
Yeah. And so that's the lens that many, and like I said, many of the black population, and like I said, many, I didn't say all. I didn't even say majority, but many are. It's like, we told you this. We've been telling you this every time from the day, the first time when you get the Reagan vote come in. We saw this happening. We've been saying it for years. And just like you will talk about, people that, who was it who said when Hitler when he took power in Germany, they will come for you sooner or later. And people said, nah, he would never do that. Guess what happened? He came for them. And I don't know where this ends. I don't know. Is this the beginning of the end of this American idea? Maybe it is.
Maybe it is.
That's the scary part. This may be the beginning of the end of the American idea. How
long do empires usually last? I think, sociologists and historians say, you usually got about 250 years, and then, they just self-destruct. I understand. Yep. You can speak to this so much better than I can. I am definitely a man of privilege. The world looks different for me when I walk out into this world. And I appreciate so much your perspective, and I understand it. And for what it's worth, I'm going to try to represent and make up for all the time I lost out there.
No, real quick, Seth, before you go. From your perspective, I know you, because I've listened to you, I've heard you give the warning. But did you think it would happen so quickly?
I knew it would be bad. I had no idea it would be this dumb and this bad this fast. Trump always told us who it was.
This is crazy.
He always told us.
Yeah.
But the second time around, Trump 2.0 was so organized. They skipped the bumbling and the fumbling and the crazy mistakes and all the firings and the blame. The first term was just a circus. This is a different kind of circus because we've seen that they learned from their mistakes. They found a way to just push through the worst of the worst, and at every level. The dismantling of the Department of Education and RFK Jr. waging war on science. We see the media being run by the oligarchs saying, you know what, we're done listening to the experts. We're going to listen to the people who get their health advice on TikTok and think they're going to get radiation poison from microwaving their mashed potatoes, right? We're going to listen to those people instead. We're going to fund the world's biggest secret police force and unleash them in American cities under the guise. I heard Kristi Noem say on Face the Nation that if Trump had not deployed some kind of forces, be it ICE or otherwise, in Los Angeles, the entire city of LA would have burned to the ground. This is the type of blatant liar that these people, they have no scruples. They are ghouls. They are the worst of the worst. And I thought, well, it'd be bad. I'm so naive. I never thought it would be this bad. And it's not even the midterms, Rich. It's not even November 2026 yet. You know what I mean?
And what's scary, the numbers, as much as everybody thinks it's going to be a bloodbath for the Republicans, when you look at the Senate, it's not looking like a bloodbath for them in the Senate. So what does that say about the American populace?
This is another way the media has failed us when they say Donald Trump's approval ratings are at a near historic low. And they'll say his national approval rating is at 39%. And I'm like, Jesus, that's not the headline. The headline is 4 out of 10 Americans still want this guy despite all the shit that he's done. That's the headline.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy. Rich, it's nice to hear a voice of sanity out there. And I appreciate your kind words.
Hope to see you soon again.
I'll be around.
Hope to see you soon again.
I'll be around. We'll shake hands and catch up. Okay, Rich?
Yeah.
Thanks again. We'll see you. Somebody in the chat mentioned that Forrest Valkai, who, by the way, is joining me with Erica on stage March 7th in Tulsa, read a poem that was relevant to the conversation. Well, far be it from me to let Forrest Valkai outdo me on a broadcast. So let me pull this up. He read a poem called The Hangman by Maurice Ogden. Looks like it's 3 pages. Would you indulge me? I'm going to read it cold. I don't even know what it says. I just Googled it real fast and I pulled it up. But apparently it has that fuck around and find out vibe to it. So let's see how the poem reads. It says, into our town, the hangman came, smelling of gold and blood and flame. And he paced our bricks with a different air and built his frame on the courthouse square. The scaffold stood by the courthouse side, only as wide as the door was wide, a frame as tall or little more than the capping sill of the courthouse door. And we wondered, whenever we had the time, who the criminal, what the crime. The hangman judged with the yellow twist of knotted hemp in his busy fist. And innocent though we were, with dread we passed those eyes of buckshot lead, till one cried, hangman, who is he, for whom you raise the gallows tree? Then a twinkle grew in the buckshot eye, and he gave us a riddle instead of reply. He who serves me best, said he, shall earn the rope on the gallows tree. And he stepped down and laid his hand on a man who came from another land. And we breathed again for another's grief, as the hangman's hand was our relief. And the gallows frame on the courthouse lawn by tomorrow's sun would be struck and gone, so we gave him way, and no one spoke, out of respect for his hangman's cloak. The next day's sun looked mildly down on roof and street in our quiet town, and stark and black in the morning air the gallows tree on the courthouse square. And the hangman stood at his usual stand with the yellow hemp in his busy hand, with his buckshot eye and his jaw like a pike, and his air so knowing and businesslike. And we cried, hangman, have you not done yesterday with the alien one? Then we fell silent and stood amazed. Oh, not for him was the gallows raised. He laughed a laugh as he looked at us. Did you think I'd gone to all this fuss to hang one man? That's a thing I do, to stretch the rope when the rope is new. Then one cried murderer, one cried shame. And into our midst the hangman came, to that man's place. Do you hold, said he, with him that's meant for the gallows tree? And he laid his hand on that one's arm, and we shrank back in quick alarm, and we gave him way, and no one spoke out of fear of his hangman's cloak. That night we saw with dread surprise the hangman's scaffold had grown in size. Fed by the blood beneath the chute, the gallows tree had taken root. now as wide or a little more than the steps that led to the courthouse door, as tall as the writing or nearly as tall, halfway up on the courthouse wall. The third he took, and we had all heard tell, was a usurer and infidel, and what, said the hangman, have you to do with the gallows bound, and he a Jew? And we cried out, is this one he who has served you well and faithfully? The hangman smiled, it's a clever scheme to try the strength of the gallows beam. The fourth man's dark accusing song had scratched out comfort hard and long, and what concern he gave us back have you for the doomed and black. The fifth and sixth, and we cried again, hangman, hangman, is this the man? It's a trick, he said, that we hangman know for easing the trap when the trap springs slow. So we ceased and asked no more, as the hangman tallied his bloody score, and by sun, and night by night, the gallows grew to monstrous height. The wings of the scaffold opened wide till they covered the square from side to side, and the monster crossbeam, looking down, cast its shadow across the town. Then through the town the hangman came and called in the empty streets my name. And I looked at the gallows soaring tall and thought, there is no one left at all for hanging. And so he calls to me to help him pull down the gallows tree. And I went out with right good hope to the hangman's tree and the hangman's rope. He smiled at me as I came down to the courthouse square through the silent town, and supple and stretched in his busy hand was the yellow twist of the hempen strand. And he whistled his tune as he tried the trap, and it sprang down with a steady snap. And then with a smile of awful command he laid his hand upon my hand. You tricked me, hangman, I shouted then, that your scaffold was built for other men, and I no henchman of yours, I cried. You lied to me, hangman, foully lied. Then a twinkle grew in the buckshot eye. Lied to you, tricked you, he said, not I. For I answered straight, and I told you true, the scaffold was raised for none but you. For who has served me more faithfully than you with your coward's hope, said he. And where are the others that might have stood side by your side in the common good? Dead, I whispered, and amiably murdered, the hangman corrected me. First the alien, then the Jew, I did no more than you let me do. Beneath the beam that blocked the sky, none had stood so alone as I. And the hangman strapped me, and no voice there cried, stay for me in the empty square. The Hangman by Maurice Ogden. I'd be curious to find out more. I don't know who Maurice Ogden is, or the year that was written, or the context that it was written for. But wow, that's pretty amazing stuff. Adrian, on a web call, is next on the switchboard. Adrian, are you there?
Hey, hello, sir.
What is on your mind?
Just in advance, I want to apologize because I'm not an English native speaker, but can I switch the topic? So when people compose a poem like this, most of them are in a zone, like in a flow state or inspired by a muse, let's say, what the ancient people used to call them, a muse. You're inspired by somebody to make music or do art. Let me know if it's not understandable.
Yeah, I understand. Creators of any kind can find days when they're at a brick wall, nothing is happening creatively in their mind. And then there are other times when it feels like they are just going 1,000 miles an hour and their typing keyboard or their paintbrush or their instrument cannot keep up with all the imagination and the ideas that are flowing forth. They're in the zone. Yeah, that's totally a real thing.
What do you think people that have creative incline to make beautiful art, in your opinion? Do you think that the idea that motivates a great piece of art came to life from an idea?
This is probably a question best asked to neuroscientists. You know, the brain understanding itself is kind of a meta question. I think inspiration comes in many forms and in many ways because everybody's wired differently. When I'm not a great artist or creator. I started making music again, right, this year. I'm just an amateur songwriter, and I just play along mostly for distraction and to relax, especially in this crazy world. I found myself doom scrolling all the time, and I was producing and writing. And what helps me is a long drive, you know, and then it just centers me. And sometimes I'll put some emotive music on the radio or on my, my phone or whatever on Bluetooth, and it takes me to a place, and I might come back and find that the ideas are coming so fast I can't keep up. I think everybody gets there in a different way because they're wired in different ways. I don't know what causes inspiration to happen. I think it's unique to the person.
Yeah, thanks again, Seth, for taking your time to speak with me. And I don't know, you're doing the Lord's work, trying to keep people off religion and
yeah, I'm good.
making them more aware. I'm joking.
I know. You and I both have the same sense of humor in that way. You know, I appreciate you. We'll see you later.
Yeah.
573. Phil, thank you for your patience. Are you with us?
Hi, this is Gil.
Gil. It said Phil on my
yes.
On my deal. Sorry about that. Gil dialing in at 573.
That's no big problem.
What's going on?
I just wanted to personally thank you. You will never know how instrumental you were in getting me on tangled from the church and religion. About 65 years ago, I got delivered a smoking 4 packs of cigarettes a day at a full gospel businessman meeting, and I thought it was God. I now know it was hypnosis, you know, but it took a long time to figure that out. And I've had so many church experiences that I still have lots of things I can't answer, but I'm on my way, got a long way to go. I had so many experiences in my life. I've done radio daily devotionals for 70 years, and I did a cassette tape library all over the world, did all kinds of stuff, but I'm so glad to be out of it, and you've been very instrumental, and I just wanted to thank you.
Well, you're most kind. I know the journey must have been bumpy, but I'm glad you found your voice, Gil.
Well, when I listened to you, the verse came to me, you shall know them by their fruits, and I could sense love and compassion as you talk with each person.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for the kind words, and all my best to you and yours, okay?
Thank you very much.
All right,
Bye-bye.
I'll see you. You will know me by my fruit. Sounds vaguely naughty, by the way. Have I come to that point in my life when everything becomes a double entendre? You know, you find those people who do that, and I don't really want to become that, but who is the comedian who was talking about those who, no matter what you say, they can turn it into something naughty? What's the example he used? Like, you know, a woman comes up to the guy and she's like, wow, I really need to get my tires rotated on my car. And he's like, I'd like to rotate her tires, right? There's always somebody who does that. I was playing tennis, and my partner that they had put me with, and it was kind of a mixer, had been hitting, we call them meatballs, right? If you are playing doubles, and you have a partner who hits weak sauce, they hit a weak shot over across the net, the opponent's net person is going to hit a punishing volley probably right at you, right at your eyeballs. You know, they're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to hit behind your feet, but you will often just get killed. So I'm talking to these people about the match, and I'm like, dear God, my partner was hitting weak sauce across the net, and I was eating balls for 90 minutes. And when the laughter subsided, I'm like, oh, come on. Are you 12? Lately, I found myself doing the same thing. I'm like, am I 12? Eating balls for 90 minutes. I guess I walked right into it. Yeah, you're right. You're right in the chat. Hellsbell says it's a riff on That's What She Said. That's what she said. There was another one, and I didn't do, what was this? It was before we got the snow. And I was like, looks like we're going to get 12 inches of the white stuff. And this guy, his name's Greg, he just bust out laughing. I'm oblivious. I'm so freaking rude. And like, what? What? What's so funny? I walked right into it. Forgive the digression. Gil, what a lovely man. Thank you for the call. Ernest is dialing in from 715. Hi. Are you there?
Hi there. So I opened the gates of hell in jail and got kicked out, if you're interested.
You opened the gates of hell and they kicked you out of hell.
Well, no, I was in jail and I opened the gates of hell and I got kicked out of jail. Sorry, I'm a little nervous.
Well, help me understand this. You're in jail. May I ask for what?
Unsafe burning, I guess.
Arson.
Yeah. Reduced to unsafe burning since it was family property and kind of my own stuff.
Okay. You set shit on fire and they sent you to jail.
Yeah.
And then you were presented with the doorway to Hades?
I went to jail and I kind of only punched the jail door window hard enough to turn it into a warp bubble, or a bubble that turned into a warp bubble for over 60 seconds and caused a world-ending earthquake. But it's kind of the same thing.
You caused the earthquake. An earthquake that was instigated by you ramming against the door, which then turned, what did it turn into?
A bubble, and then it turned into a warp bubble.
Warp bubble. Okay, all right. And then how did hell come into this?
Well, they described it as the gates of hell breaking open, but, technically I only, punched jail into a earthquake.
Okay. I'm unsure as to whether I'm supposed to continue here. Because somebody in the chat had a good point about whether it's ethical to continue, because I'm trying to figure out where you're coming from. So what would you like me to do with this information?
I'm sorry. It's just the beginning, and the police have police reports of this to help corroborate the rest of my story. And the rest of my story is I sleepwalk on the ceiling preaching hellfire. Also in jail.
Okay. Well, that's all I got. Ernest, thank you, I think, for the call. And have a wonderful day. Okay.
It's normal. Thank you.
So if the person was genuinely untethered to reality, then it becomes very problematic to continue to amuse myself with a call. If it is someone trolling me, then I have, more options. I can decide, screw you, you're wasting my time, or I can amuse myself by asking deep and probing questions like, did whatever the membrane was on the thing lead to Hades, or, was it just northern Texas? So I don't know. AJ dialing in to talk about ice. Hi, AJ. What's up?
Hey, Seth. How you doing?
Well, everything's on fire and people suck. But beyond that, I'm peachy. What do you want to chat about, AJ?
Well, I guess at least we're not in hell.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, sort of. Yeah. What are you thinking? What's on your mind?
Yeah. So I've been watching all the videos of ICE and these cold-blooded murders that have been happening on the street. And they've certainly triggered a lot of childhood trauma for me. I think you know that I was born in Argentina. And when I was 15, I was still living there. And Argentina was experiencing some pretty dangerous political turmoil and definitely a lot of civil unrest. At that time, because my parents could see what was coming, they decided to sell everything that we owned with the purpose of moving to the U.S., kind of chasing the American dream, you could say. And it happened on September 10th, 2001. So the next morning we wake up, my mom comes into the room. My sister and I were sleeping on a mattress on the floor. And my mom quietly guides us to the kitchen where we had this tiny little TV that was pretty much most of what we had left. And we watched in horror as the Twin Towers fell down. I can't even remember anyone saying anything. We were probably all speechless. And soon after that, we were finally able to move to the U.S. All of this to say that my family fled this chaos, this violence, this starvation, the political unrest in hopes for a better life. And I did grow up here in the U.S. I got married, I had a child, I became a citizen less than a year ago, something that I always assumed would give me a sense of belonging or safety, but it doesn't feel that way anymore. It feels like I just have this piece of paper that's completely worthless. And my heart is breaking because we fled here in hopes of finding peace or stability. And it's really sad that instead it has become what we were fleeing. And I feel torn because we're considering leaving the U.S. again. I don't want to go. I want to go, but I don't want to go. Like, I don't want to leave these amazing friendships and family that I have built here. I don't want to leave people fighting alone because I see the people that are fighting. But at the same time, it's like, who wants to live just fighting? And I guess that's the part where I'm torn. Like, I want this place to be what we hoped when we arrived, about 25-ish years ago.
This is the dilemma. I wish I could tell the future. I could make a decision. Natalie and I, it's funny, we were talking about leaving the United States, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, on my phone, I started getting social media ads that say, immigrate to Canada. And I'm like, my phone is spying on me. But we've talked about where we would go, and I think if I could only tell the future, would there be a course correction? Call it the midterms. Would there be some regulator that begins to stem the tide? Will the bad cholesterol kick in and Trump finally keels over and the cult doesn't go for J.D. Vance, who has the charisma of a lawn chair? Or is it going to be another half decade or more of violence and murder and chaos and lies and grift and everything else? Because knowing the answer to the question of how long and how bad would help us understand what decision to make. And yet we are not clairvoyant. We do not see the future. And you articulate, I think, a conversation many people are having. If I knew how much worse, rather, it was going to get and for how long, I would know what play to call on the field right now. But we simply do not know. All I know is my heart breaks for you. I wish, what was that quote by Martin Luther King Jr.? I criticize America because I love her. I want her to be a shining example to the world. And I think that's how you feel, right?
That's a perfect way to put it. Yeah, because we came here with those high hopes of finding a place that wasn't the chaotic and authoritarian regime that we had in Argentina. And it's like seeing the same story play out again. Sorry. I keep choking up whenever I talk about this. It's just really, really heartbreaking. And it's such a hard decision to make because, again, I do have this opportunity to flee again to a better place. But I'm like, I came here not to leave everything behind, not to leave this place behind. Like, This is the place that I thought would be it. So
I'm going to read something for you after this call. So keep listening. It was a piece that was posted by Robert Reich just, a few months ago that I hadn't forgotten. And while I was listening, I took the liberty of pulling it up. Maybe it will speak to what you and I are feeling and thinking now. But in the meantime, huge hug from Natalie and me and the kids, okay?
Thank you. Same to you, Seth.
All right.
Have a good one.
See you later.
Mm-hmm. Bye-bye.
This was posted as a Sunday thought in October of last year by Robert Reich. America's trauma. We need to talk about it openly. He said, friends, I'd like to talk with you about a difficult subject. A significant number of you are disoriented by what Trump and his lapdogs are doing. Many are deeply anxious. Some of us are depressed. For years, medical experts have recommended that Americans be screened for anxiety disorders. But what many of us are feeling now is not a personal disorder. It's a rational response to a nation that's becoming ever more disordered. What we're experiencing is not a sickness or individual distress. It's a sensible reaction to a society becoming sicker and more stressed. Trump and the enablers around him aren't just violating the Constitution and disregarding laws. They're not merely doing cruel and vindictive things. They're also spreading fear and fueling hate. This fear and hate are harming every one of us, even the shrinking minority who support the regime. Hate is a corrosive that eventually consumes the haters. Fear breeds more fear, which causes everyone to be afraid. The harm may continue long after the reasons to fear and sources of hate have passed into history. I have a friend who suffered trauma at the hands of abusive parents. She spent much of her life trying to cope with that trauma, trying not to let it rule and ruin her life. Another friend is the child of a Holocaust survivor. He has spent much of his life trying to escape the ghosts of relatives he never knew who were murdered by the Nazis, whose deaths have cast a dark shadow over his own life. Most of us are fortunate enough not to have suffered childhood trauma from abusive parents or been raised in the dark shadow of the Holocaust or other horrors, but most of us are now suffering a trauma of a different sort, from an abusive president and his lapdogs, and from the dark shadow of fear and hate they've cast. Just as with my friends, many of us now feel powerless and afraid. We don't recognize our nation. We are disoriented, vulnerable, anxious. Trump apologists call it Trump derangement syndrome, but the actual derangement is in and around the Oval Office. I don't think we're talking enough about the national trauma most of us are now enduring. Some of you may assume there's something wrong with you when you can't sleep or awaken feeling anxious. You may feel alone in this. You should be aware of how widespread and reasonable your reaction is. Trump's cruelty and vengeance will pass. Years from now, we'll look back on this as a terrible period in America's history. Our nation will survive, but the fear and hate he has sown could cause lasting blight. Recognizing this, being aware of the toll it's taking and will continue to take on us even years from now, is important to our eventual recovery, that of our loved ones, and the recovery of our nation and the world. I thought that was relevant. I hope it was relevant for you. There is so much more show still to come. Plenty of people on the switchboard. We'll find out what they have to say after this. Coming up next week, I'm going to have an interesting conversation with someone who calls herself a spiritual atheist. Now, hang on. All right, hang on. I get it. I understand there are challenges with the word spiritual, but a lot of people embrace it. She's a deconstruction and religious trauma coach. Her name is Britt Hartley. She was brought to my attention by Casey Malone, who I interviewed last year. So I want to talk about this whole spiritual atheism thing and a whole lot more with Britt Hartley. That is coming up next week. Right now, we talk to you. Steve, dialing in from 970. Thanks for your patience. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can. What's up? What's on your mind?
I just wanted to speak about, our political system in general, to say that everybody's crying about how we're going to lose our democracy. In fact, it's been a corrupt system since day one. If you think about the idea that somebody can be elected to president of the United States and the only qualifications they have to have is to be born in this country and be over 35 years of age, that's ridiculous. All the senators, Congress people, there's no term limits. They can, the fact is that these people don't have to be qualified to do the job that they're elected for. There are no qualifications except for being an American citizen. And so it's ripe for corruption. It always has been. And maybe what's happening now is we're going to have a wake-up call here saying, wait a minute, we have to change this whole system. This is ridiculous, the fact that how much money does it cost to become elected to any position, especially in the federal government? Millions of dollars. So when these people are bought and paid for before they ever take office, and finally people are waking up to that fact, I guess. I don't know. If you look at Trump, for example, he's an idiot. He's a buffoon. Why would a guy his age, who has billions of dollars, supposedly, just not want to be out playing golf and, chasing young girls around or whatever he does? But why in the world would this guy want to be president? And it's obvious that, he's being used. He's a what they call a useful idiot. But maybe Putin is behind it. But obviously he bankrupted, I don't know how many times. He owes these people. And they have, the main thing right now is to keep him out of jail. So he's propped up. He's put up there. I don't think he wants to be president. He wants to be adored and worshipped. But right now he's kind of stuck, and he's losing his mind, obviously. And he's just being propped up by the billionaires and the oligarchs. I don't know. How much more can the American people believe that Trump is actually legitimate in any way?
Well, I think this is a case of many things can be true at the same time. I certainly know that he is a useful idiot for the Project 2025 types and the oligarchs. They want to use and abuse the system for their own gain. I think he ran in 2016 to buttress his own brand. I really don't think he even thought he would win, but he's an attention hog. It's a chance for him to go out and get even more attention. And then whenever he was elected, he was able to use it to further enrich himself. I think the number is now $3+ billion added to his net worth since he became president in 2016. So, he's smart enough to be able to grift, but he's also being used by others to establish what I think is both an oligarchy and an American Gilead. And I don't know when the tide's going to turn. I've been thinking it'd turn every 5 minutes for the last 10 years. This will be the straw that broke the camel's back. This will be the point of no return. This is beyond the pale. Now people are going to actually come to their senses, and it just hasn't happened. The guy's still polling in the upper 30 percentile. I don't know if we're going to survive it, Steve, but you're right. The most qualified people want nothing to do with the office, so we're stuck with the leftovers in a bicameral system where it's A or B. I understand it.
What would happen if every single American, working American, decided, all of us, say, for one full week, we're not going to go to work, we're not going to pay our taxes, we're not going to participate in this system anymore. We're going to shut down this government to reform it. What would happen? You think that would work?
How do you herd those cats? And again, what's that line from what movie? A person is smart, but people are dumb. I don't know if that's not always true, but never underestimate the stupidity of people in large groups. We are a country that everybody's got an opinion. Very few have an informed one. And somehow we're all going to become a monolith and opt out of the oligarchical system and say piss off to Amazon and stop watching CBS and Disney and all that stuff en masse. I do think that we have seen instances where people have protested with their dollars. Money talks, the lack of money talks. And we did see Disney reverse its suspension of Colbert. Was it Colbert or Kimmel? No, they canceled Colbert, but they took Kimmel off the air. And then all of a sudden people said, screw you. And they canceled Disney Hulu. And it was just a few days where they said, sorry. And they brought him back on the air. So, there is merit to voting with our dollars because money talks. But getting everybody on board, good luck with that, Steve.
Well, okay. I don't know what the solution is then because
we
not
grab
good.
Tens of millions of our fellow Americans by the shoulders, and we shake them vigorously and say, what the hell is wrong with you? That's what I fantasize about, Steve.
Maybe this is all part of God's plan, and the rapture's coming anyway, so who cares, right?
Yeah. The Lord works in mysterious ways, Steve. Wise words, good theology. Thanks for calling. We'll catch you later, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
See you soon. So many people call as if I'm a wise person. How do we fix the world, Seth? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I'm stuck like you are. I sit in the corner of my house and go, don't give up on people. There are still good people. Don't give up on people. You're still good people. I say it over and over again, and then I just flip. People suck. People suck. there are still good people. More than one thing can be true at the same time. There are people who are honoring the murder victims, Renee Good and Alex Pretty, and there are people who are calling them domestic terrorists who had it coming, so hey, shoot them in the face. There are good people, and people suck. Both things are true at the same time. 951, I don't see a name. Hi.
Hi, this is Sharon.
What's up?
How are you, Seth?
I'm good. What's happening?
I thought I'd give a palate cleanser because, of course, I'm outraged with the ICE situation and everything else that's been happening. But I wanted to go to paranormal, and when I say that, I'm an atheist, I'm a skeptic, but all these have witnesses, and I thought I'd start with my first encounters with strange things.
What strange things?
Okay, the first thing is when I was a child, I had an abnormal attraction from animals. When I say abnormal, we had a woods behind our development, and we used to go there all the time. And there's a little creek that went through there. We used to catch pollywogs, and we built a fort back there. Just had a good time with the kids in my neighborhood. But every time I went, all the animals came around. When I say all the animals, I mean a deer, a rabbit, chipmunks, different animals would come together, raccoons. And they'd all be in the same space around us, and we'd all be petting them, and they'd be calm. Now, I thought, well, that's normal. Apparently, it's not. And I got really popular among these kids. You got to come with us, because apparently when they go, this didn't happen. But when I go, they'd happen. And I attracted animals for a very long time. They just come to me. That's one weird thing. Don't have any explanation for it. That's just one of many weird things.
Did you,
when I was about 6 years old.
Did you by chance rub your skin in lunch meat or something?
No, I could have been something like hormonal that attracted them, but to have all these disparate animals come together in a place where they weren't afraid of each other and they were all friendly with us, and all the kids could pet them and stuff. The deer, I especially loved petting the deer. And a chipmunk would jump on me. And I had other, like I said, throughout my childhood, I had animals. I had birds come sit on me, and butterflies are all over me all the time. All kinds of strange things.
Hang on. You got to forgive me, and I don't mean this as an insult. This sounds like bullshit. You sat down, and the deer frolicked out and let you pet them, and birds lit on your shoulder or on your fingers, and chipmunks came out of the woods.
The birds were not at the same time. That was not at the same time. I'm just saying the small animals, the deer being the biggest, and I had witnesses all the time, and I didn't know that it was me they wanted there, not because they liked me, but because I could bring the animals around them. That was just one of many things that happened. I also had 3 UFO encounters, all witnesses, all very different. And then I also witnessed a ghost, which was with other people. So that's the 3 things. And if you want any details on any of those, I could give you those, and you can make your assessment of that. I don't have any explanation for why any of this stuff has happened. I'm just telling you I had witnesses, and we all confirmed we saw the same things.
Okay. Well, I think I'm good, but thank you for sharing that. I appreciate the call very much.
But do you have an opinion yourself on why things that I can't explain from the known physics and chemistry and biology and anthropology that we know of, neurology, all that stuff, why all these things happen to me and other people who've never seen any of this stuff?
Well, all I know is that you told me they happened to you. I don't know they happened to you. Secondly, there is a lot of science that has been done about the unreliability of eyewitness testimony. We know about the subjective human brain. We know that there are a great many factors that can influence perception. And until we can test whatever those, you saw something that was a UFO or an AEP, unidentified is the key word here. I can't speak to it. I wasn't there.
I can tell you what I saw, and I can tell you what these witnesses claimed that they saw. I can only tell you that I'm not saying that you should believe that I saw this stuff. What I'm saying is from my personal experience, and I know it's unreliable. I know I'm just a witness. And my witnesses, we saw something. Could it be mass delusion? Sure. But all these different things happening to one person with witnesses is strange.
Well, hang on.
And
you saw something. What was the something?
Yeah. Well, I thought the most interesting one to me was the UFO that I saw that I called interdimensional. And the reason I say that is because it was see-through. I could see the trees behind it. And I was with one other person. And I had talked to someone who I ran into, was from North with Grumman. And I explained what it looked like. And it looked like a negative, but I can kind of see through it. And he goes, well, I obviously can't. I have my own things that I can't discuss. I said, I'm not asking for specifics, but it doesn't sound like something and from what you know that is at all possible in what you know about physics. Because, well, actually, he explained a few physics things. Is if you were to see something interdimensional, it would look like a negative. I said, it had the portals, it had this, and, I explained everything to him. He goes, let's just say you're on the right track, but I can't give you any specifics. So that's all I got from him. Obviously, I'm not going to ask him to divulge things he's not allowed to divulge. Let's face it, the government hides things. I don't know what they hide. I'm not privy to that either, just like you aren't privy to that. But I don't know. I have these experiences that I haven't been, it wasn't negated. I mean, it was confirmed by other people.
Let's take the Occam's razor approach and ask the question, is it more likely that these are interdimensional beings that have been either hidden by or manipulated by a secret branch of the United States government, or there was something that was semi-opaque that you saw in the sky that you simply don't know what it was?
It wasn't in the sky. It was right next to me. It was literally 3 feet away from me.
Was it a light?
Elvis,
was it a kite? Was it a drone?
No,
was it a hummingbird?
It was a ship. It looked like not exactly a saucer, but close to a saucer type ship looking thing with portals.
All right. A ship with portals. Okay. Well, I have no idea how to address this other than I must take it like I take all accounts that are based on personal testimony and eyewitness, quote unquote, corroboration. Interesting story, but I can't do much with it myself. Okay.
I just thought it'd be interesting, other than our national despair right now, that weird things happen, and I think all things are natural, but I just can't explain all things as most people can't.
Well, I've given you what I've got, and it's not much. My apologies for that, but thank you for the call.
No problem. No problem.
All right, we'll see you later.
Take care.
UFO appeared 3 feet in front of me, and it was a saucer with windows. And it was semi-opaque. I could see the trees, and so it might have been interdimensional and possibly part of a government thought. I don't know what to do with that. Joyce is dialing in, 205. Joyce, thanks for your patience. Are you there?
Oh, no, hi, you're the patient one. You're the patient one. And you're so diplomatic. This is why I love listening to you, okay? But anyway, let me not review what I was so glad when it was over. And I apologize to the woman, but, people believe what they're going to believe.
Yeah.
And you cannot tell them anything different. Anyway, I just want you to know, I'm an 80-year-old woman. I love life. But this has been the most difficult time in my life. But I want to read just a simple quote that I write down, because I try to look at positive things as well as keeping up with the news. And it says, life is like a journey taken on a train with a pair of travelers at each window pane. I may sit beside you, good folks, the whole journey through, or I may sit elsewhere, never knowing you. But if fate would have us all to sit there side by side, let's be pleasant travelers, because it's such a short old ride.
That's lovely.
And that's the way. I loved it. Like I said, I listened to so many different things, and I was raised, not completely, but in those formative years like you. And I got away from it. And I've been out of it I think I got out at 1982. I was probably about 36. I'm 80 now. I enjoy life. I wake up every morning looking forward to what's the surprise today. And listening to you is one of the things I look forward to. And I didn't know I would call you today. This is the first time I've ever called in anyway. And thank you so much
glad
for
you
your
did.
hard work.
What an encouragement you are to me, Joyce. My goodness. Can I ask you a question? Did you come out of a specific religion, or what did you escape from?
Yes, Jehovah's Witness.
Ooh, my goodness.
And I was a dedicated one. I was born and raised in New York City, and I was so sure that the world was coming to an end that I moved to the South, Montgomery, Alabama, in 1966. And I was a full-time ministry. I landed up getting married. I'm still here in Alabama because it's been good. You know, I have 4 children that are wonderful. I mean, my life is so much better. And just recently I did last year, I write some, and I was able to read my, something that I wrote on stage. And, I mean, I've traveled. I've been so many different places. I'm glad I traveled when I did. Life has, I sit here and try to figure out, how did my life turn out so good? I mean, I love life.
You're good medicine. You're the encouragement and positivity that many of us need. I'm watching the chat and they're like, we love Joyce. So you're already a fan favorite already in these last 5 minutes.
I didn't mean to be that. I just really just wanted to tell you how much because I know it's a lot of work, and you could be doing something else if you want to. Just know that people like me, even older people, hopefully older people will, you have an older crowd too, you know what I'm saying? That will listen to you. Because even though whether a person is atheist or not, you make common sense in everyday talking. You know, you're not trying to convert people to be atheists or anything like that. You're just talking sense. And I really, really appreciate it.
I'm going to take you with me on the road. You're going to be my motivation. Before I go up, you're going to talk me up before I take the stage and be like, you got this, Seth. You got this. You are somebody. You're going to go knock them dead. Go out there, pal.
Well, I will be glad to be in your presence or any way that I can help. If I help, it's worth it. You know, like I said, you just have to clap for yourself.
Well, for the words of encouragement, I'm so very grateful. And I know everybody in the audience they are enjoying this injection of goodness. So big hugs from my family to yours. Okay, Joyce?
Back at you.
All right.
Bye.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Okay, let's call it a show. By the way, don't forget to check out all the events coming up. The 2026 Conference Convention Free Thought event calendar is starting to fill, finally. And if you want to find out if something's coming to your town, just go to thethinkingatheist.com/events. And I will see you back here next week.
Follow The Thinking Atheist on Facebook and Twitter for a complete archive of podcasts and videos, products like mugs and t-shirts featuring the Thinking Atheist logo, links to atheist pages and resources, and details on upcoming free thought events and conventions. Log on to our website, thethinkingatheist.com.